Hey, welcome to the 59th episode of the Pickleball Crew. We've got some special guests with us today, and Ken's going to introduce them.
Yeah, we were really excited to have Scott Buell and Ryan Maher from DUPR. And we're going to spend some time talking about DUPR and educating our viewers on DUPR. So, Scott, Ryan, why don't you just talk a little bit about how long you've each been with DUPR, your roles, and just a little bit about pickleball, if either of y'all are actively playing.
Scott, I'll let you jump in first.
My name is Scott. I'm the Director of Account Management here at DUPR. So I primarily manage the processes and the operations of our account management team. But then I do lean in heavy on the relationships with our API partners as well. So I manage that side of DUPR. I have been with DUPR for a little over a year now. I started May 2023. So yeah, it's been a fun ride, that's for sure.
Scott should have been hired a long time ago for DUPR. Yeah, but a part of our executive director program. And had I known what I know now, we would have probably wanted Scott on the team a lot earlier. He's an absolute legend for DUPR and has helped out.
Wow.
Tremendously. And he's a hell of a pickleball player too. He didn't really dive into that, but
he didn't tell us. He's holding out.
What's the DUPR?
I believe I'm 4'5'2", something.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Great.
I haven't checked in a while though. Just to check.
Hey, we'd love to play against you when you're having an off day.
raise that rating. Well, yeah, I'm Ryan Maher, based out of St. Louis, Missouri. So I am the VP of Commercial Operations at DUPR. So I oversee our commercial team, which includes getting to work with Scott on a daily basis, the account management team, our collegiate pickleball team, and kind of dabble in minor leagues as well as our activation and key accounts team. So I've been with DUPR. It'll be 2 years in September. Feels like 5 years in the pickleball space, but I was fortunate enough to be one of the first 10 employees at DUPR.
Wow.
Previously held Scott's role until we kind of grew a little bit, and just been loving the journey over here at DUPR and being involved in the pickleball world. So I do play. I don't play as much as Scott, but I've got my Wednesday night group that my dad kind of created over 3 years ago, and carrying that group on strong every Wednesday and dabbling in a little bit of tournaments here and there, but not so much. When you work in the pickleball space, it's kind of hard to tell your wife and your kids you're going to go play a tournament on the weekend. So I'm trying to have a fine line on that battle.
Yeah, I feel like once you start working in pickleball, the playing kind of drops drastically. So perhaps I play a little bit more than Ryan, but it's definitely gone down significantly over the last year, but certainly enjoy it when I can get out.
That's great. At least you have some good regular time now that you experience it.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Pickleball Crew. We are a group of pickleball fanatics based in Southeast Louisiana and are passionate about all things pickleball everywhere. Our focus is to inform, acknowledge those who help build the game regionally, and promote tournaments in our area. We do our best to present this with a love of the sport, a sense of humor, and a lot of fun. So join Vicki Wynn, Ken Wynn, Jeff Fuchsia, and me, Bud Klein, in our latest episode. We are glad you are along for the ride.
DUPR appears to be the most accurate, and from what I understand, like the only global rating system out there in pickleball. And what we thought we might do is have you guys explain to our viewers just a little history on DUPR, why it was created. Was there a need for a more universal system? Was it a more accurate system? What really triggered the start of DUPR? And I like the way you say we've grown just a little. You guys have grown a tremendous amount, and eventually we'll get there. If you guys would just talk a little bit about the history of DUPR, would appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. DUPR truly was formed from UTR. If anyone's familiar with the tennis space, right? Our initial CEO came from UTR. Our current CEO came over with Jill from UTR, and they positioned pickleball as a rating system for UTR for a couple years, and UTR didn't want to make that move into the space. They didn't think that pickleball was going to be what it is now. So fortunate for us, Jill and Tito had met Steve Kuhn, and kind of the rest is history, right? They knew that there was something special with pickleball, and that at the time there wasn't a global rating system, right? So the need was there, and DUPR was formed from there. And I think a lot of people know those early DUPR days with Ben Johns and Lee Whitwell and Cameron Blackwood, and all the athletes promoting it, and just the hype that came around with it early on, and that kind of just what we call the rocket ship launched at that time.
Absolutely. It seems like it's probably more through its growing pains at this point, and that you guys have landed yourselves in a really good spot as far as your relationships with many of these other organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, and maybe a little bit of a misconception for the pickleball community, right? Is we're basically 3 years into this thing, more like 2.5 years in, and we're learning, right? To have a great rating takes a lot of data, a lot of users, and we certainly have, by leaps and bounds, more than anyone, more data, more users. But it takes a while to get there, right? It takes a while to get a brand off the ground. It takes a while to get that data and get those users in, so that we can start making updates and changes to have a more accurate rating. And we're always learning, and we have a great data scientist team too that is digging into all of that. And honestly, like the feedback we get from our partners, just as you mentioned, Vicky, right? MLP, PPA, UPA partnership. We just announced a partnership with WPR. I don't know if you guys saw that announcement, but WPR is launching a world professional tour with the most money ever in the sport, $15 million.
Wow.
So, and that's international, right? So, it has taken a little while, but we definitely we feel like we have our roots planted, and the trees really starting to blossom. So it's really exciting for us.
So what, in your opinion, makes DUPR, why does it become more accurate than some of the other rating systems that have been out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So something, and I don't want to take away from any rating systems when they're based off of what they're based off. And what I mean by that is, a good example is one of our API partners, Global Pickleball Network. They have a rating system, right? They have a great software, but it's only as good as the data that goes into that software, right? So their rating is great for the events that go to their software. Where DUPR pivoted, and where we really stand out, is that we're integrated with their software. We're integrated with pickleball.com now. That announcement came out this week, right? Brackets integration is here. We're integrated with Pickleball Global. We're integrated with Swish. We're not trying to be a tournament management software. Although we get a ton of data from all of the clubs that are on our platform, which is a great resource for the clubs, the thing that we do differently than every other rating system is we partner with every other software out there. And Scott mentioned part of his role is that API integration management. That's exactly what an API integration is, right? It is linking to Global Pickleball Network, Pickleball Global, Pickleball Brackets, all those tournament management softwares out there. So we're receiving data from multiple sources, over 65 integrated softwares, where the other rating systems are only receiving data from their software. So, you go back to a USA Pickleball rating, which I think most people had issues with and struggled with, right? Because you only got your data from a USAP sanctioned event. So, and it only updated every 2 to 3 months, where DUPR's rating updates immediately, and we're receiving data from 65 sources, right? And so that's what really makes us stick out, and why the rating is so much more accurate, because it is receiving so much more data, like not even close in how much data we're receiving compared to the other rating systems that are out there.
Yeah, I know Ryan kind of touched obviously on the API partners, but we do have over 4,000 clubs on the platform as well that are giving us data on a regular basis, and that number only continues to grow every single month. So it's just the amount of data and results that we're receiving is just absurd.
It's a great word, absurd. It's hard
That's
to
right.
understand.
So these clubs have been growing, I know, in leaps and bounds. I mean, by what I've been reading and looking at. And because there's no other alternative at the collegiate level, is it really the collegiate level? I understand there's junior clubs growing from high school, but it sounds very much like the collegiate level is where the majority of that growth for clubs has come from.
To be honest, and the collegiate growth isn't amazing for us, but honestly, the clubs are more of the local facilities, right? Your local facilities, your Lifetimes, the Pickler, international clubs, and clubs can range for us. When we talk about clubs, I have a club, right? Ryan Maher has a club with my group of friends, right? But that goes all the way up to international federations who have clubs. So we're receiving data from the small little guys that are hosting, round robins at the park, all the way up to national organizations hosting, good example, a 2,000 person event, the English Open, that's happening this upcoming week, right? They have a club on the platform, so that we're receiving data from them as well. But to your point, the international or the intercollegiate growth is absolutely blowing up as well. So that is a big piece. High school, we have over 25 high school clubs that are on the platform that are using DUPR as their rating system for their play too. So we're seeing it from all angles, to be honest.
I actually logged into Pickleball Brackets yesterday, and for the first time, it said, "Hey, can I connect you? I need to connect your DUPR account to Pickleball Brackets." And I noticed in the Pickleball Brackets, the logo was PT, I guess, for pickleball tournaments and pickleball brackets. So they've merged now, and I looked down and I saw my DUPR not just my Pickleball Brackets rating, but associated ratings. And one was my DUPR rating is now embedded into my Pickleball Brackets profile.
Yeah, there's a very long overdue is probably not the right word, but we've been trying to, get this across the line for a long time. And it's extremely exciting. They said June 29th, and sure enough, or July 29th, and sure enough, July 29th, we were live. So yesterday was probably, Scott, you can verify this for me, but I think yesterday was our biggest user activation day in DUPR history. The most people that came to the app or the web. The Pickleball Brackets, Pickleball Tournaments integration has been what the users have wanted for years, right? And we're very excited for that integration.
So originally, and you can maybe elaborate, there was a feature called the half-life, and now it's called your DUPR reliability. That recently changed, I guess, in the last 6 or 9 months. So is that something, maybe you could just explain a little bit to our viewers what that DUPR reliability means and how is it calculated? Yeah,
half-life was obviously an important feature for us, so people understood how the data was presented, right? Like a lower half-life means we don't know as much about you, but the numbers and the metrics around it were a little bit confusing. So we wanted to create something that was more aesthetically pleasing, and that kind of made a little more sense to the users, right? So the reliability score is, it can be a tool for a lot of people, right? One, a tool for the user to make sure they're playing enough games to stay reliable, right? If in the DUPR world, we want to see people 60% or more, right? That means we have a decent amount of data on you, and we can be pretty confident in the number that's attached to your rating, right? Obviously, 100% is is where we'd love to see everybody. And then from the tournament director or organizer standpoint, the reliability score allows an organizer to also have a conversation with the user, right? You might play one game, um, just like we said at the beginning with Scott's rating, right? Like you go and beat Scott because he has an off night and you're a lower rated player, or you're a non-rated player and that's your first game, and you don't play another DUPR game for months, weeks. We're not confident in that number, right? And it's going to show on there because you might be 3%. You might have a 3% score, right, or a 10%. So really, that scale is there for organizers, club directors. Hopefully, long term with these API integrations, you know, if someone's hosting an event where there's money involved, right?
Right.
You have to be 100% reliable to play in this event so that we can, remove the opportunity for someone to sandbag. So, honestly, that's been one of the best features we've come out with in a while. The community is absolutely loving it. Just for myself, I was 98% reliable the other week, and I put together a DUPR round robin with eight of the guys that I play with and said, hey, I need some more DUPR matches. Let's go get competitive. So now I'm back to 100% because it updated today. So,
I could give you some personal experience. I started off, I started a DUPR club. We had a DUPR night, get everybody's scores in. I started off with a 3.95 DUPR rating out of that. I went a while, and then I played in a tournament, and I did horrible. I played in a 4-0 bracket, and I got smoked bad. Okay? So my DUPR rating went down to a 2.9. But now when I look at my score, I've got a 3% reliability. So that made me feel a lot better that I could say with confidence that I'm not a 2.9. I'm better than that.
You just don't have enough data, right? I mean, that's the thing too, is the other side of that, right? Is when we don't have that much data on you, and you just in general you don't have a lot of results, you're going to be a lot more volatile in your movement, right? So you may move down quite a bit if you lose, or vice versa. You're going to jump a lot more. Scott, as an example, Scott can barely move. He has so many results, and so he moves up very incrementally because we have so much data on him. We kind of know where he's at. And the good thing about Scott and his leagues that he plays in is the players' ratings are so accurate that he is playing level-based play so frequently at his club that he shouldn't be moving a whole lot because he's pretty close to where he is as a player. And unfortunately, he can't go pro because I'm working him too hard over here, and he doesn't have time to go train and get some 5-0 games in. But the reliability, it's a big factor in there, and it's a big education tool, right? But in your example, you can go and educate someone and say, hey, if I get some more games, my rating's going to jump up pretty quickly, right?
Well, I think the one thing that you said that hit home for me is that Vicky and I have either helped or have run tournaments before, and you go by DUPR ratings, but having that reliability, if somebody's a low reliability, that's the invitation to have a discussion with that person. Say, hey, look, maybe we want to make sure that you're playing in the right place, even though your DUPR is a 4.0. Let's talk about it so that we get you competitive, and you're in a position that you're competitive, not just for yourself, but for your opposition as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I come from the racquetball world. I put on racquetball tournaments for 20 plus years, and this didn't exist in racquetball. There wasn't a rating, there was a ranking, and you moved up and down, and it was very subjective. And I would have to have those conversations with people in person. I would have to call them up and say, hey, Bob, you're too good to be playing in open. You need to play the A level. And it's a very awkward conversation is very subjective, right? Like, what am I basing that off of? I know Bob and I know he's a good player, but I don't really have data to say, well, here's why you're too good, right? You've won the last couple of tournaments, but you also lost a few. But I think you're too good to play in this division. Well,
Right.
add reliability rating into that, and I can look at Bob and say, here's the facts, here's the data, right? Or vice versa, I could look at him and say, you're not good enough to play in this division. Maybe you should play in this division because we don't have enough information on you. And the last time you played this, you got smoked, so let's put you in a division that makes more sense for you. So it's a very useful tool for the organizer. It takes a little bit of that subjectivity off of them and puts it into the data, right?
So all of this talk leads me to my one big question that I had for y'all, or not really a concern. I was just curious what your thoughts would be on it. So for a while, I was around a 4.5, even on up towards a 4.6, which I'm not that good of a player. Now I'm back down to around a 4.2. So I feel like with the results I've had, I'm somewhere between 4.0 and 4.5. So I feel like my rating is right. But my question is, the only, other than tournament results, the only time that I'll get like invites to validate are from people that I play against in rec play or whatever, and they beat me, and then they want me to validate the match. I don't get too many invites when I actually win. So I was curious of a couple things. How do y'all handle that? Does that weigh less? Or what y'all thoughts are on that particular thing?
Yeah, this is so, and to be fair, I think this is more of an education piece from DUPR to the users, which is, something our marketing team and our team talks about all the time on making better content around what comes to DUPR and how it's supposed to come to DUPR, right? So in those situations, right? Well, let me address one thing first, right? All matches that are played through the app with a group. So, Ken, Jeff, go play Bud and Vicky, and you guys say, hey, let's make this a DUPR game. You go to the park before the match, right?
Yeah.
You have that conversation, right? And then you put them in through the app, and then all of you validate those matches from that night, right? Like, not too many people are going to go play with their 3 other friends and then not validate the matches, right? You're not going to have many friends if you're that guy that loses and says, I'm not going to validate, right? So that's one scenario. Now, everything that is a tournament or a league, no player should be putting those in through the app. That is for the tournament organizer or league organizer to make that decision. And to be honest, and we're a data company, and we want users and we want results, but we want those results and those users to be aware that these results are coming prior to their match, right? So this is where, these API partners, and Scott's been having these conversations over the last month and a half of like what an API integration looks like. A tournament director or a league organizer should have the ability to check on DUPR, right? You come play my event, you got to have a DUPR account. These results are going to go to DUPR. When it comes through in that format, or if I'm running it through my club, everyone knows that these results are going to DUPR. I'm going to put them in. There's no validation because it's coming from an organizer or a tournament, and then you don't have to worry about that, right? Win or lose, your result's going to come in. The issue that arises is that people play in a tournament, those results, maybe it's not an integrated partner, maybe it's not a sanctioned event, but they want those tournament results to come to DUPR, and then they just find the other people and they put them in, and the other people don't validate them, right? So it's more of an education piece that DUPR needs to get better at, to let the users know, like, this is not how we receive tournament results. If you want those results, reach out to your tournament director or your league organizer, get them set up with the DUPR Digital Club. Scott's team's going to take care of them, right? And then we're going to show you software that you can run the tournament through, and all that data will come in. Does that answer
Yes, it does. It helps. Talk about it before, or I'm not going to validate anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's, if, especially if you're playing with friends or a group and you want them to go into DUPR. To me, we do this all the time, and not everything should come to DUPR. I say this all the time, right? Pickleball is fun. Pickleball should be social. You should go work on
Right.
shots. You should go play with your friends and drill, but still kind of be competitive. But hey, every once in a while, and that's the way I do it with my group. Once a month, we have DUPR night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone's fired up for DUPR night.
Yeah.
Everyone plays hard. We all know the results are going in, and then the other three Wednesdays out of the week, we go, we play, we laugh, we have fun. People are trying some different shots, and we have some beers afterwards, and just enjoy each other's company, right? So
Brings a little fire to that particular night.
So let me ask, just taking it one step back, because I have had people ask us the question of, hey, I don't have a DUPR score. How do I get my own DUPR score? But they also happen to be in a little more remote area to be able to get out and go play a bunch of tournaments. This one particular partner I had, he's doing a great job getting around and trying to make that happen. But he really struggled to try to get that DUPR score going in the very beginning. Should I have suggested to him to put a club together?
So it's an interesting question, right? I mean, our team definitely vets the club organizers. Now, if he's someone that wants to run DUPR rating sessions for the community, right? 100%. Yeah, we need DUPR champions all over the place. But we also don't just want someone creating a club that's going to put in scores for their 4 buddies and maybe isn't
Right.
in it for the right reasons, right? We have a DUPR police, if you will. So we're monitoring.
I read about that.
Yeah. Well, that's internal talk, right? They're not really DUPR police, but we have a group that is checking the data. They're making sure that people aren't just putting in wins for themselves when they have a club, and so really, it's the account management team that is having these conversations and getting the clubs up on the platform and making sure that, we're getting the right people who are organizing events and really trying to help other people in their area to get that rating off the ground.
He's definitely, he's PPR certified, so I know he's teaching, and he would be someone that would be great to do that. So
yeah, absolutely.
So Ryan, when you're playing with your buddies and once a month you do your DUPR night, you're really playing in a way against the same people. Then when you go off and play a tournament and you're playing against somebody that is not in your circle, it's almost like, does that rating have more of an impact, that match have more of an impact than continue playing with kind of the same people? You see what I'm trying to get to?
Yeah. So that's where the reliability comes in to place, right? Is if I play with the same 8 people, that's going to affect my reliability, right? We don't have enough information on me as a player if I only play with, 4, 8, 12
Right.
people. So that's why it is very important to go play in a league or play in tournaments and we used to call it connectivity. We don't really use that term as much anymore, but it kind of is still valid, right? That connectivity with people in different markets and against different players helps that reliability score. So yeah, it is really important to not just have your little circle, because it will affect your reliability score.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Which can be very tricky in some markets, right? If you have only 5 people that you play against and you don't really travel outside of it, you can put data in, which is great. You'll have a rating, but it's not until you start getting more connectivity or playing other people until you'll become reliable.
Well, I can tell you that, playing in your little local rec area, and you start to think you're one level, like a 4-0, and then you play in a regional tournament, you get your expectations reset, because you realize that at the regional level or the or national level, there's a difference between a 4-0 there and a 4-0 in your little group that you've been playing with. So.
Right. And our goal is for that to not be the case in the future, right? And it takes a lot of time, and this kind of goes back to the misconceptions around DUPR, right? Is we still need a lot of data, a lot of connectivity, and not a lot of people playing together. That's why it's so massive that we have these partnerships globally, right? Because that's now happening, and we've seen this happen in England and China and Australia, where for a while that connectivity wasn't there. There wasn't enough data coming in, and now it's starting to level out. And that is our goal long term, is that isn't the case. If you go to Florida and you're a 4-2 and you're 100% reliable and they're 100% reliable, you're going to go play another 4-2, right? You know what you're getting into. And even really long term, our vision for the sport is that brackets should be 0.25 and not 0.5, because 0.5 is a big margin in a player's skill level. A 4.0, a 4.1 playing a 4.5 is not the same player, right? A 2.9 playing a 3.4 is not the same player, and it just scales up from there. So really, for us, we want it to get to that point, and we're making strides to get there. But it takes time to get that many users in, that much data in, to really see that level out.
All right, so Ryan, we've had some fun with this. I've had some fun with this with some older players that I play with. So I'm real curious to see what you say here. I hope you side with me. So a 4.0 20-year-olds play two 4.0 50-year-olds. Is that an even match?
We are ageless and genderless.
That's what I told them.
Yeah. So and one of the things when I found DUPR at my club, I watched a couple things. I watched my friends from the racquetball world who moved over to pickleball and were now pickleball pros arguing about players in open play, and I'm like, why are you guys not using DUPR? That was one thing, right? And that doesn't really factor into the age piece, but it was like, you have this tool here. Why aren't you using it instead of arguing this? Now, coming from racquetball is very similar to pickleball. You go to a racquetball tournament, and I might be playing a 50-year-old in the open division, and there might be a 14-year-old kid in the open division, and we're all competing at the same skill level. It didn't matter what your age was. Now, that 50-year-old guy, he was probably way craftier than the 14-year-old kid. That 14-year-old kid was flying around the court more than the 50-year-old, but the 50-year-old didn't have to move much to execute, right? So I saw the same exact thing when I came over to pickleball, right? My dad's a good example of it. He was 68 when he stopped playing. We had 20-year-olds to 68 in our group, and my dad at the 3.8 level was competing with the 24-year-olds, and my dad would have shots that the 24-year-old wouldn't have, but he couldn't move. So but the 24-year-old didn't have touch and didn't have some of the craftiness. So for me, when I found DUPR and I found out that it was ageless and genderless, it spoke to me so much, because I knew that from the racquetball world. And I'll go to the grave on my belief that that's how this sport is played. And I think you see that. And now, Scott, you can chime in here because you're in a different market than me. But when my first time playing was with my dad, everyone was 55 and older. There was a 96-year-old guy in there. And, I'm an athlete coming from the racquetball world, but all of those players humbled me that day. We were all probably around the 3.5 level. So that's enough proof for me. Now, did I improve from there? Of course. But at that moment, a 38-year-old me was as good as 96-year-old Bud. So I'm all for it.
The key here is the rating is only going to be as good as the data that goes into it. So it needs that match data. It needs some I know Ryan used connectivity earlier. We don't refer to it like that anymore, but it needs some way to kind of look at that 50-year-old and look at that 20-year-old and decide, like, yes, these are the same rated players, but we need to make sure that we keep getting that data. And going back to what you said earlier, how basically if they play in their same little cluster, like, yeah, I mean, it's not, it needs more data beyond that cluster to really get accurate, but at least it is still important that in that silo of people that it's accurate within that silo too. So we can't necessarily discount that either.
And that, I guess, brings up DUPR leagues, where leagues are going outside of their circles to, play other leagues, other teams, and that might help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple of our, minor league pickleball is been massively helpful for us to get new users, and that's, in terms of what DUPR does from an event standpoint. We have minor league pickleball and we have our collegiate pickleball, right? And minor league pickleball now is, if it's not, it's very close to the largest amateur event in the country. Over 6,000 players this year, over 180 events this year. We had 100 last year, so we're over 180 already. And those tournaments, which it's not a league, but those tournaments, right, are hitting so many different markets. And then we're partnered with the NTPL, which is the USTA pilot pickleball leagues from last year. They kind of branched out, started their own. It's a different format, but there's leagues all over the country. Hancho Pickleball League, which is more of a social league, they're partnered with us, and they're blowing up as well. So, it's kind of what we talked about with us not having tournament management software and partnering with clubs and PPA and MLP. We're also partnering with all the amateur tours, WPT, National Pickleball, the Senior Pro Tour, NPL, the Senior Team Tour. So, we have connectivity. We keep using it. I'm going to stop saying that we're not using that word anymore, Scott. We're using it. We have connectivity. We have connectivity with all of our partners and leagues and clubs and organizers that just help tremendously.
Yeah. And then international seems to be, well, two things I'll bring up really quickly, because I know we only have so much of your time. We could probably do this all over again. But two things that really stood out to me was that you guys are involved with, I think it's November 22nd through the 24th, the Collegiate National Championships in Kingwood, Texas. And I thought that was extremely exciting. And then when I reviewed the list of international events, there was an Indian Open that had over 600 players in it. DUPR Nationals in Venezuela, Latin American Pickleball Games, DUPR Nationals in Puerto Rico, Asian Pickleball Games, over 480 players. That's phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the international space is just blowing up. I mentioned the English Open. We've been partnered with the English Open. This is our third year. I was fortunate to be at that event last year, and I think they had 1,200 players. They're 5 away from 2,000. I don't know if they're going to get there, but 2,000 players at this event, largest event outside the United States. And when we were there last year, we were having to help get the players DUPR accounts. This year, we had to help 5 people out of those almost 2,000 get DUPR accounts. That's just how much the adoption has been. And yeah, we're partnered again with the Asian Federation of Pickleball. Did the Asian Open. The Monsoon, their global pickleball event, is here in 3 weeks in India. That's another over 500 person event in India. The World Cup down in Peru, DUPR is partnering with that event as well as the European Pickleball Team Championships in November. So yeah, I mean, international is it is on fire. China and India, the growth there is astronomical, and the investment into the sport is absolutely wild. We had a DUPR collegiate tour in China with our partners that are helping us in the Chinese market. So yeah, it is, international is really catching up to where the US was, right? When we were in England last summer, I felt like England was where US pickleball was in 2001, where, most of it was played on gym surfaces or like community centers. And now they're starting to have dedicated indoor facilities, and the tennis facilities are starting to, paint lines and roll away courts. So, we're not too far away from seeing Europe right where US was in 2000, 2001. So the international growth is certainly there. And I think over this next year, we're going to see a massive uptick, especially in the Asian market.
Well, just to touch on that a little bit more too, is we kind of break down our clubs internationally and then within the United States. And within the United States, it's 3 different regions, more or less, without getting into too many details here. But I'd say about 6 months ago, the international clubs that we were creating on the platform was the lowest out of those 4, like international and then the 3 regions, where now it's the highest. So that just kind of shows some of the growth that we're seeing internationally.
Yeah, and you touched on intercollegiates, right? That event in November is at the UPA's World Championships. So we are now working with the UPA to even highlight intercollegiate pickleball even more than it already has been. The growth of that space has been massive. You see universities now. Drury University in Missouri is recognizing it as a varsity club sport. They have a dedicated pickleball facility on campus, and they're giving out scholarships. That's, that DUPR created collegiate pickleball. We hosted the first nationals in 2022, and it's grown since then. And now we're aligned with the UPA and PPA, and so we're having collegiate regionals at MLPs and PPA events moving into this fall and into next year. So, we're kind of March Madness of collegiate pickleball now, with 64 teams getting a bid to our to the championships in November. So the collegiate space is absolutely blowing up too.
Well, Scott, Ryan, this has been just so informative, and we really, really appreciate your time. You taking the time to come on. We're trying to stay true to our time commitment with you. But look, we'll open it up and see if there's anything else you want to kind of leave our viewers with from a DUPR standpoint that we didn't talk about. Kind of a parting thought. We're trying to encourage everybody to get a DUPR rating and to get more involved in our DUPR events. So anything you could add to that, we'd appreciate it.
Scott, do you have anything that we missed out on? I feel like we touched on almost everything.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would put out there is just the request for patience from users. I mean, I think people don't realize that we're still a very small team managing tons of users. So I think just please be patient with us. We're always trying to improve our processes and figure out how we can work more efficiently, but we don't ignore anything. We do our best to address everything as fast as possible.
Yeah, and it takes time to build something like this, right? And we're going to continue to grow and improve. And I think from our standpoint, from today's call, we just really appreciate the champions of the community, like you guys. One, doing a podcast like this, regardless of DUPR, this is important for the sport, and what you guys are doing is amazing. So we appreciate you having us on here, but more than anything, we appreciate you being ambassadors of the sport, regardless of DUPR. We just want to say thank you from our end.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Yep.
Yes,
Thank y'all.
All right, crew, that was really a good interview with the DUPR folks. We really appreciated them being here. But now, as always, it's time for Jeff's Burr Under My Saddle.
You're Burr under my saddle. You're a thorn sticking in my side.
All right, thanks, Bud. I may have touched on this before, but I like I say, I'm running out of stuff. But I'm gonna touch on it again. Maybe come at it from a different angle. Hear a lot of talk about people playing in different local tournaments, and you hear about the sandbaggers that are in. They ended up in their bracket. I just want to talk about that a little bit. Every bracket, y'all, especially in local tournaments, if you play in bigger tournaments, the skill levels are going to be more leveled out in these big, sanctioned tournaments. But in these local tournaments, you got new people coming in. It might be some tennis players that sign up in 3-5, and they're really they're really good right out of the gate. The thing is, every bracket that you play in, especially in these local tournaments, guess what? There's going to be a couple of top teams or one top team. There's going to be some middle of the packers, and there's going to be some down below. So what I'm telling you is, stop crying about it, people. What are y'all doing? I mean, if you're signing up to play in a tournament just to win a medal, well, then you need to sign up 3-0 and you be one of those sandbaggers. Because we have all played in tournaments, and I think a lot of people out there are going to be able to relate to this, where we were the top team in a bracket and we rolled through. Well, guess what? That day they were talking about you because you were the sandbagger that day. It's just one of those things that's going to happen, I think, in local tournaments. So kind of having fun with it. Not really, it's not really something that really bothers me, but I know it bothers a lot of people because I hear about it all the time. That's this week's Burr Under My Saddle.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. That was a great Burr Under My Saddle. And now it's time for Ken and his tournament previews.
Hot off the press, it's time for Ken's tournament previews.
All right, thanks, Bud. Let's start with August 10th. This is a new listing. It's the Biloxi Lady Indians Pickleball Tournament at Pops Ferry Park, Biloxi, Mississippi. I just have a flyer we'll put on the screen. There's a QR code. If you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to a Google Doc, and you'll complete and submit that Google Doc. August 24th, 25th, 2024 is the Louisiana State Games, West Monroe Sports and Events Center in West Monroe, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration closes August 17th. Going to September 7th. This is the Dink Minor League Pickleball Tournament at Pops Ferry Park, Biloxi, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. It's $70 per person to play in the event. September 6th through 8th, 2024 is the United Pickleball Association State Championship at the New Orleans Hilton in downtown New Orleans. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. The following weekend, September 14th, 15th, this is the New Orleans Paddle Battle. This is also at the New Orleans Hilton downtown. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. It's $60 per person, and registration closes September 13th. September 12th through 15th is the Rucker Middle School Pickleball Tournament at Mooney Park, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. We're going to put the URL at the bottom of the screen. It's www.performancepickleball.emeraldcoast.com, and there's a flyer with a QR code. You can scan that as well to register. September 13th through 15th, 2024, for the Love of the Y. This will be at the Paula G. Manships YMCA Lamar Tennis Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Look, this is a fundraiser tournament with all the proceeds going to help the Y, expand the Y's community outreach program. So jump on it. Go and play in that tournament in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. September 27th through 29th is the third annual Bubba Hart Memorial Pickleball Tournament at the Graywood Golf and Racket Club in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration closes September 20th. September 27th through 29th is the Canebrake Kitchen Classic at the Canebrake Pickleball Center in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. There's singles, mixed doubles, and gender doubles. Registration closes September 8th. September 27th through 29th is the National Pickleball Daphne Classic at W.O. Lott Park in Daphne, Alabama. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Moving to October 4th through 6th is the West Feliciana Pickleball Classic Fall Fling at the West Feliciana Sports Complex in St. Francisville. We're going to put a flyer on the screen and David Parker's phone number. Call that number if you need to get a flyer. Also check around the local South Louisiana Facebook pickleball Facebook groups, because you got to print the flyer and mail it in. There's no online registry for this tournament, but this is a fun tournament. It's a nice sports complex out there. Heck, bring your camper. You can spend the night in your camper right at the facility. October 4th through 6th is the Louisiana Senior Games. It's at Stacks Pickleball in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're going to put the URL at the bottom of the screen. It's www.lsog1.org/registration.html. Look, this is a qualifying year for nationals, which will be in the summer of 2025 in Des Moines, Iowa. So go ahead and jump on it if you're 50 and over, signing up for nationals for senior games. October 18th through 20th is the Mississippi State Championship, Pops Ferry Park in Biloxi, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration for the Mississippi State Championship closes October 13th. October 25th through 27th is the Hollow Wheel in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're going to put the URL at the bottom of the screen. At this point, you can only get on a wait list, but if they need partners for people who drop out, they're pulling from the wait list. So that's the only way you're going to get in the tournament. So we'll put that URL at the bottom of the screen. Finally, November 2nd is the Patriot Pickleball Tournament at Coquille Rec Park in Covington, Louisiana. We'll put the flyer up. This is a novice 3-0 and 3-5 only. Those are only levels for this tournament. It's gender doubles and mixed doubles. And finally, November 15th through 17th is the World Pickleball Tour, Brett Greenwood in Baker, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register for that. Registration closes November 10th. That is it for Pickleball Preview. Back to you, bud.
Thanks, Ken. Get out there and sign up for those tournaments. Like Jeff said, just make sure you're playing in your bracket. That's all we ask. And now, if nobody has anything else, I think it's time to say goodnight. Good night, y'all.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, from the Pickleball crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments, and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again, and see you next week.